raising women's voices,
one story at a time.
Welcome to the She Said Project podcast. Well, it's another beautiful day because we're here in our podcast studio in partnership with WCIA in our hometown, I'm going to call it, our hometown of Champaign, Urbana, Illinois, where That's What She Said began so many years ago. I'm Jenette Jerzik, National Director of the She Said Project, and I think the luckiest woman in the world because of the work that I get to do, helping women shine on the stage in live productions of That's What She Said. And I wouldn't be sitting here if it weren't for this woman to my right, my co-host, my sidekick, and most importantly, my friend, Kerry Rosso.
It's a pretty good gig, right? Like we're in this fancy schmancy space and then doing, like, it doesn't get much better than just shining the light on the awesome women in our town. I know that everybody feels this way about their community, but I think that we have just like a freakishly large population of amazing women in this town. I'm convinced of it.
This is where they all come to roost. Yeah. This town is just bursting with incredible women. And it makes it really hard, actually, to cast and That's What She Said show, because our goal is to find women who, have interesting stories, who maybe would never have an opportunity like this because they're not the ones that are, out in the public being loud or being seen. There's sometimes the women behind the scenes, the women who are quietly making a huge difference in our community. So it's fun. It's a fun challenge. I'll take it.
It's pretty great. And I think that often people don't know that they, much like today's guest, that they are on our radar for a while.
That's
so when
true.
we're putting a show together and we have this template of trying to have diversity in age, diversity in content, diversity in all the ways, so that we're literally behind the scenes saying, okay, I need a woman in her 30s, I need somebody funny, I need somebody. And today's guest, for many years, she either declined us, she was too busy for us.
She was too busy.
She was too busy for us, but she was the person that was like in the 80s and 90s, and she was too busy to make time for us. But she had been on our radar for a while, which is, so many women in our community are, but I'm so happy we finally got a yes.
We did. And we're going to find out why she finally said yes, because she appeared on stage in That's What She Said in Champaign, Urbana. It was our 10th production. So, a couple of years ago, we celebrated 10 years of That's What She Said, but this was our actual 10th show. So we like to celebrate as much as we can.
We drag it out.
So we celebrated this one too. And I don't know if that's her reason, but I'm going to agree. I'm so glad that this was the year that Iris Marcum came out of hiding and said yes to being on the stage, and That's What She Said. And now she's here with us, right here, in person, in the podcast studio.
Hi, Iris.
And I've loved it. I'm 90, almost 91, and I've just loved being in That's What She Said. It was therapeutic. It was emotional. It was lovely. The group of women can't be beat. We didn't know each other until we got together, thanks to you. And I never thought of my story as being funny or special or anything, but boy, I loved giving it. Thanks to you writing it for me.
You brought the house down.
I just loved being there and doing it. And the meetings were so special. Everybody had a great story. And we bonded. We're all friends now because of you getting us together. And I just love it.
I just sent the invitation. You guys showed up. You guys did the work. So let's be real here. It's a lot of work to be in a That's What She Said show. And Iris, you showed up. And I'm not going to take the credit that you're throwing at me. This is your story. And you came to each rehearsal with like a journal, like you had pages and pages and pages written. So you had a lot of ideas of what you wanted to share. I just helped you pick and choose and maybe, carve it out a little bit. That's it. this was your life story. And it was an honor. It was an honor to put it together in a way that did make everybody laugh. But also, how do you share 90 years in 9 minutes, right?
I know. It was really trying to find something for each minute,
Okay.
90 years.
There
I
you
wrote
go.
down 9 things that kind of highlight. Skipped over a lot of things because got to keep moving.
You cannot share
you
it
have
all.
to keep talking, but it was wonderful. I would recommend it highly to all my friends to tell their stories.
So how did we finally wear you down? How did you finally wind
it
up?
It was the year of my turning 90, and I thought, I'm not going to do it any younger. I better just get off and do it. And so I did it. And but the year before, I remember Jenette calling me and Kevin McGuire too, and he said, "Oh, you'd be great." He wanted me to tell the tornado story, so that's another story. But and I just decided, hey, 90, you ought to just do it. So I did it. And it was a hardship because I can't drive at night legally anymore, and so someone had to take me home every time, and so
I don't
can
think
still
hardship
drive in the daytime.
I don't think
is the
anybody ever
right
described that as a
word.
hardship.
Well,
As a-
it was wonderful. We had great food. We had wine, and I am a wine drinker.
Oh, I know.
And so we had fun, and we cried, we laughed, we just really bonded, and I'll never forget the girls. Really,
Never.
Sort of adopted them as grandkids. So.
And there is nothing better. I love the podcast because we always say it's sort of the party after the party. We get to catch up with you. But social media you are like the darling. But I see people's posts, and there will always be something from Iris, from that sisterhood of your group, you encouraging people. And even when I don't see you all the time, I still see Iris Marcum cheering people on, and that's how you were during the show. You were sort of the hub and the encourager and the glue that we all gravitated toward.
Well, thank you. I felt that at the party, because of my story, I helped a person, a recovering heroin addict, and he thanked me for giving my story. So if you reach one person, and then my church group came, and I said, golly, I felt sort of embarrassed. They brought flowers, and they were just cheering me on, and the one said, you were a gift to us. So your story was a gift. And I never thought of that.
And that's
so
just the
I
people
just
you
felt
know.
really, and my family was there, and some family was in the afternoon and then some at night, and they loved it. So I just felt really good about it.
I might be bursting over here because, Iris, what you put into words is the reason why we do what we do. If your story touches one person, and for them to come up and express that to you, it's like that's part of the gift, is just knowing that someone out there, felt something or thought something or made a shift because of what you shared.
Yeah.
It just drives home the purpose of what we get to do. And you are no stranger to the performing arts. Your whole family is full of performers and educators, and you've been telling stories for years. In fact, you teach a storytelling class.
Cooking up a story. I did it again this summer. I had 16
Did you hear that? She taught a class this summer at age 90, and not even here. You
In Waukegan.
Yeah. No, she goes up to Wisconsin to share the love.
And it was just marvelous. And then I'm going to go back up in October because these same kids are in Newsies. So I'll take them all muffins as an opening night gift. And
The
Jenette.
Iris muffins.
Oh, I brought some. Maybe she would let you have one.
Oh, friends who are
legendary.
listening, I'm so sorry you were not part of this this journey with us because Iris is famous for her banana muffins, her mini muffins, and she brought them to every rehearsal. We have been so blessed to enjoy your famous mini muffins all along the way, and she brought some today to the studio. So we'll be enjoying that a little bit later on. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to share Iris's story with our friends. So we'll be right back. Well, I'm kind of grateful because we're going to take a break and maybe enjoy some of the banana muffins that Iris brought to the studio. So while we do that, you get to enjoy her performance from That's What She Said, Champaign-Urbana, our flagship community, our 10th show. Iris was a special participant this year, and we're so grateful she was with us. And her story is 90 and still cooking. You've got to enjoy.
From age 17 to 70, I was married to my dear sweet Roger. He was enlisting, and so we got married before he left, and I stayed in our small town of Centralia to finish high school. Well, growing up in a strict religious household, this was the most innocent and traditional way to begin my adult life. Of course, I hid it from my parents when I started flirting at 8th grade. I was a cheerleader, and I had my eye on the star basketball player. But we were not allowed to date. We were not allowed to do many things. No music, no dancing, not even playing cards. It was our parents' belief that playing cards was a gateway to gambling. Right after high school, I was put on my very first plane ride to Southern California to be with Roger, who was in the Army. We spent a few months together in our apartment in Santa Barbara, and then his company was activated and sent to Fort Lewis, Washington. He was packed to go, and I was heading back to Illinois to wait for him. We enjoyed one last night together, and I remember thinking Roger was in quite good form. Before we realized we were experiencing our first earthquake. Driving across the country with some family friends and settling back home, I found out I was expecting our first child. I gave credit to that earthquake. I started working right away to save money for our new home, and so Roger could go back to school. And when he returned, we found him a job teaching at a school in Danville with a salary of $3,200 a year. Remember, that was 1954, and we rented a 3-bedroom home for our family for a whopping $20 a month. We welcomed our children, Roger, Douglas, Kevin, and Angela. And in order to stay home with my kids and make ends meet, I started watching other children in my home. And I loved it. It was no surprise I found my life's work as a preschool teacher. My children were my pride and joy, and it was truly wonderful watching them each grow to find their true passions in life. Now, I remember vividly in June of 1987, we were sitting in a restaurant having dinner, and we were so very happy. And we raised our glass to celebrate how happy we were. Roger Douglas had a great job in New York City after spending 7 years as a roadie with REO Speedwagon Band. And our dear Angela was studying to be a music teacher and expecting our first grandchild. Well, Kevin's musical talent took him all the way to Broadway. He starred in shows like Cats, he was Old Deuteronomy, My Fair Lady, and a workshop Sunday in the Park with George. We enjoyed many trips to New York to see Kevin perform, and it was like a dream come true. He had just taken over the role of Jean Valjean in Les Mis, and we had gone out to see him Father's Day weekend. But at the high point of his career, at the age of 31, he died suddenly from a bad reaction to cocaine. And this became the most devastating period of my time. Nothing can prepare you for losing a child. I leaned on my other 2 children and my husband, Roger, and he gave me the strength to keep going. So in Kevin's honor, we started a scholarship program for students at Urbana High School who wanted to study theater and music. We preached about the dangers of drug use, and we shared Kevin's story to inspire young people to just say no. We tried to use our tragedy to make a difference in our community. I did eventually retire from teaching. Then I went back. Then I retired again and went back again. Now I've retired from teaching preschool 5 separate times. And even though I just turned 90 years old a few months ago, I still teach a regular class through the Urbana Park District to children called Cooking Up a Story. We read stories and cook recipes related to the stories, and the children and I have a blast. My dear Roger passed away in 2004, and I was alone for the first time in my adult life. It was lonely, and I found myself throwing an occasional pity party. But I found ways to fill my time with joy. My granddaughter would bring over her university friends on Sunday nights to do their laundry. And I would cook dinner, and it became a weekly tradition with a house full of music and laughter and theater games. So fun. And after I'd been widowed for 10 years, my daughter tried to convince me to get back out there. What? Get back out where? I was 80 years old. Until one night, she sort of ambushed me. She called me and told me to meet her at Cranard Uncorked. And even though I was tired from a long day of teaching, I somehow managed to put on my shoes and go. And she sneakily introduced me to a gentleman. Well, I sort of liked him. He was sweet on me, so we gave it a go. And within a month, he proposed, and within 3 months, we had a commitment ceremony. Okay, listen, when you're my age, you don't have time to mess around. Well, maybe we did move a little too fast, because I missed some signs along the way, and we've decided to part as friends. And now you can find me most days in my kitchen baking famous Mrs. Marcum's mini muffins, or volunteering at our thrift shop, Twice is Nice. It's associated with my church. We raise money for local community organizations. And every summer, I travel to Wisconsin, where I get to teach my Cooking Up a Story class to children where my daughter runs community programming. I don't see myself slowing down anytime soon. The kids keep me young, and I just love working at our thrift store. And as for going on any more dates, I'm only 90, so I'm keeping my options open. Keeping on. Burn out rather than rust out.
Iris Marcum, you are a legend. You are a legend on the She Said stage. Have you watched your performance since that night?
Oh, yes.
Have you shared it with loved ones?
Yes, I have. And then I did a podcast with my granddaughter
Oh,
in
really?
Missouri.
This isn't your first podcast performance?
No.
Oh, my goodness.
She didn't have the live show, so she had me read it. And you miss something when you just read the story, you know. And so she said, well, Grandma, I'm really sorry that you don't have an audience here, so I'll just give you a standing ovation. So she applauded my story. But, yeah, she has an empowerment group there that I'm trying to get her to work with you and get a show going. So
That would be amazing.
I
I
know.
know she's doing incredible work to uplift women, and that's what we're all about.
It's empowerment, and the photography is great, and
Well, I think that your piece it really drove home. One of the things that we always say is it's as important to hear the story as it is to tell the story. And even though you were up there telling it, the reaction at the heartfelt parts, at the funny parts, it really felt interactive. Could you feel it when you were up there?
Oh, absolutely, yes. You kept telling us that you have to pause and give time for laughter, but we didn't really do it until that night or that afternoon too. So, but
I wonder if we timed the laughter break on your story, it might be one of the record breakers here. Like that laugh lasted so long.
I know
That the earthquake joke, man, did that land?
Yeah. Well, and that was for real.
I love that
And
period.
It was so great. What was the reaction afterward from people, your loved ones? What feedback
Oh,
did you
they
get?
all just loved it. They loved the delivery of it. And people that were really close to me had not heard the earthquake story. So, and I said, that was really the truth. And, that was the night that, the bed and everything was going around. And whoa, what's happening?
Roger was in quite good form that night. I'm so thrilled that you were willing to go there with the joke, with the humor.
Oh, sure.
Because the way you explained your upbringing, you had a very conservative, very innocent life.
Yeah.
And yet you had this side of you that, you had your eye on the basketball player, and, there was a side of you that had a little risque, a little fun. And we really got to let that side out.
Oh, and it's amazing that this little girl from Vandalia, Illinois, and then went to Centralia as a sixth grader. And that was the first time I had ever seen a Jewish person, a black person, or a Catholic nun. Can you believe that?
That's like the opening of a
That's how sheltered
joke.
I was, And now I have 4 black grandsons, and I mean, we're just very diverse in our family, so it's just wonderful. And I love my life, and I just feel like I'm ready to keep going as long as I can. So,
I think because you opened with so much humor, it really, the hard part of hearing your story, I think you put people at ease, and sometimes saying hard things it's easier to receive, information or a hard part. And
well, Kevin's death was the most devastating thing I've ever had to have. And I don't know that I could have survived it without my husband, because he just said, God will get us through this. And boy, we just clung together and had to keep on going for each other and our other 2 kids. And the story about Doug with Ario. Ario just performed at the Assembly Hall.
The
Oh,
State Farm Center.
also known as. Yep.
Assembly Hall here. This is here in Champaign, Illinois, where REO Speedwagon actually originated.
Yes,
They
and
just
he
had their
was
big
with them
farewell.
when they originated. So anyway, he got free tickets, and he took his son.
So I was there. I went to the
It was
concert.
Really wonderful. Yeah.
So they actually formed, fun fact, in the Illinois Street Residence Halls, in the same building where I met my husband. So we have a very spiritual connection to REO Speedwagon.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, their music's good. That's the only rock show that I've ever gone to. Not here, but in Crystal Lake, Illinois. They came up there. We brought the age up to I don't know what.
Well, I just went to their farewell concert, and the average age in the room was definitely older than me. So, yeah, but they're beautiful musicians.
Yeah, they
But
are.
I love what you shared earlier about sharing Kevin's story, that obviously you wanted to make a difference in your community by spreading the word about the dangers of drugs, about creating a scholarship in his name. But you said someone came up and spoke to you after.
Yes, at the party, Kenzie and I were going over to get wine, and he pulled my arm, and he said, "You don't know me, but I thank you so much for sharing your story." And he said, "I'm a recovering heroin addict, and your message needs to get out there to everybody, because we all need the hope that we can be cured." And I said, "I'm glad you're cured, and keep on that, recovery, because that's supposed to be really difficult to give up." So, but yeah, he called me, or he just took my arm in my fur coat.
Can we talk about that coat for a moment?
Yeah.
It has become kind of an iconic symbol of that night. And you weren't originally wearing the coat. Like, she had a whole ensemble under there. Like,
Oh,
you had
yeah.
a beautiful teal blazer and a whole outfit. It happened to be cold in the theater.
It was coming down on me Friday night, and so at intermission, I went back and put the coat on, and Kevin McGuire said, "Wear it."
Everyone
Everyone
said,
said,
"Don't you take that." Like, it was
And
was
I
stunning.
needed it because I'm cold-blooded. So
But you became famous for the beautiful fuzzy white coat. And you said everyone kept petting you.
my
throughout the
daughter
show.
gave me that for my 90th birthday.
Oh, it was brand new.
So it was the thing.
Well, it made you the rock star that you are, because it was a special ensemble. We're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, I mean, Iris is still cooking, so we got more to talk about.
Okay.
So, Iris, your story was one of the quintessential, she said, examples of all the feels. There was so much laughter and tears. Like, you were emotional. You were sharing some of the hardest thing
Oh, absolutely.
you'd ever lived through. I can't imagine you ever sharing that part of your life without breaking down a little bit. But over the break, you were sharing some more stories about Kevin's adventures in New York.
Well, actually, it started here at U of I. I was in plays at the State Farm Center, called the Assembly Hall then, and he did an audition for the Muni Opera, and he got cast in the shows in St. Louis. So Margaret Hamilton, the Wicked Witch of the West, saw him. "Don't waste your parents' money on college. Come to New York. You'll have a job." She didn't promise him a job, but she knew he had talent. And I just thought, we picked him up at the airport, and we had a lease signed on an apartment, and he had a roommate, and I'd brought all these dishes and linens and all this. I'm going to New York. And I called my husband. I said, what should I do? And he said, bring all the kids home and we'll figure this out. Well, he had already figured out to take the train with several of the casts from Muni Opera. And they got a real cheap apartment, mostly roaches in there. And they slept all over it, 7 people. And he went to work at Burger King because he knew would have to pay rent. He had $500 in his pocket. Well, that was, way back then, so that went farther than what it would go now.
Right.
But within a week, he had a job, so he quit Burger King. And it was just like, he had to do all this. And he had to get it done by the time he was 31. So he was in My Fair Lady, The Magic Show, Cats, Old Deuteronomy, where they stayed on the stage. And talk about petting, he would get pet like the kitten, a cat. And then when he came home to do a one-man show, he thought, well, maybe I'll go back and get my degree, But then they called him and said, you need to try out for Les Mis. And he got it. So he went right back to New York. And we went to Washington, D.C., to the Kennedy Center on New Year's Eve. And he got us a hotel where they were staying. And so we met all the cast then. And it was just, we lived vicariously through Kevin and his lifestyle. And I think Angela thought we had a second home out there because she went to the cast parties when she was like 7 years old, and she just loved New York. So he would have loved for her to have come out there and perform, but she chose a different road, so.
And it sounds like he made a real impact on the people that he met and the people in that community there.
He had the lead in all the shows at Urbana High School, and then we moved to Kerry, and he got the lead up there, but then we let him come back and graduate with his class and live with friends here in Urbana. And, he sort of lived a charmed life. We knew he was a different type of person from age 4. He used to gather up the neighborhood kids and have a show on the picnic table in the backyard. Then I would pop corn and make lemonade, and he would have a show in our neighborhood, and he raised money for muscular dystrophy. And, he just loved to perform and sing. And so, yeah, it just was such a joyous person, so.
He loved what he did, and he had the
Yeah.
talent to do it. Those are some serious roles he got on Broadway
To
at such
take
a young
over-
age.
Yeah, well, yeah, he was only 31 when he died. So at 30, that Father's Day weekend, we went out and took my mother with us. And we didn't think Angela should travel because she was going to have our first grandchild. So we left her back here. But, and we had retired back to Urbana. And by that time, one of the retirements. And
There were several, yes.
yeah. And so, he wanted to get the picture framed, which is hanging in Angela's house. And he got the #2 print. John Colm Wilkinson got the #1 print of the cast of Les Mis. It was just phenomenal. And one of the human interest stories, the man behind us said, "Oh, there's an understudy today." And Raj just turned around and said, "You'll really enjoy this understudy. He's really good." And with that, the man said, after the show, he said, "You were right."
Did he
So it
ever
was-
reveal that he was your
Well,
son?
I think Raj told him then that
Yeah.
he's my son.
Yeah, so better watch out what you say.
What a wonderful way that you have honored him. Always so many great stories.
Well,
the
and I
things
wish
you
I
do.
could have kept it up at Urbana High School. I did keep the scholarship going for 22 years.
Oh my goodness.
Well, Roger and I. And we wanted to give $500 so that they could buy books, but we would interview them and we would tell Kevin's story because we didn't want them to fall into the same path. So it stays with you forever, you know. I'll always remember the joy, though, that he just did funny things. And my niece was with me this summer and from North Carolina, and she said, I'll just always remember the things that he did to make us laugh and get the giggles, you know, as kids growing up. And he just was a performer, so through and through. Maybe that's what he's doing now. Who knows?
I would believe it. Once a performer, always a performer. And what about your other kids? What are they up to?
Well, Angela is a cultural arts specialist at the Jack Benny Theater in Waukegan. So she has a lot of plays going on. She has kids' plays, adult plays, and then she's directing and producing them. Then she has all these classes, so she hires me to come up there, and I live with them for 7 weeks. And we go in, and then she has interns that help me. I just have so much help. It's wonderful. And so I read the story to the kids, and like I start every class every year with Popcorn Dragon. It's my favorite story because it's this dragon that when he gets excited or mad, he blows smoke out of his mouth. So, and he doesn't have any friends because he was showing off, you know, and blowing smoke rings and trying to get them to come and play, and they thought he was showing off. And you can't make friends when you're showing off. So his mother said, well, just go lie down and take a nap. And he does lie down in a popcorn field, and he starts to snore, and he pops the corn, and then he eats the corn, but he shares it with the other animals, and then they all like him, and they all play together. So I said, you know, when he quit showing off and he shared his food, then he had friends.
And what is the recipe that goes with that story?
And I do popcorn, caramel corn, and popcorn balls. And sometimes some kids just like popcorn, but we use a hot air popper. So it pops all over and makes the whole building smell good. So
Yeah, you don't see those that much anymore these days.
no, I know it. Yeah.
You know, Iris, for all the amazing things you've lived, one thing you're very bad at is retiring. Like, you went and taught this
you
summer.
know,
just a few
retirement
weeks ago.
fail.
Yes, totally.
I did fail at that. I just love to be busy.
Yeah.
And I just see a need to perk up someone's day, so then I'll bake a whole batch of muffins. But
I know, you're
I've
still
been so
baking.
blessed. Yeah, we've been so blessed, and Doug is working for FedEx, and he's still so, you know, he worked for Mario Cuomo in New York, and then he worked at the Jacob Javits Convention Center, and he worked for Andrew and Cuomo in HUD. And 9/11, his wife worked at Windows on the World, but she was pregnant with their firstborn, so she took a later train in, saving her life and Dylan's life.
Oh my gosh.
And Kevin Dillon is named after Kevin. So he's back at the U of I working on his master's, and he got his undergrad there. So it's kind of full circle, you know. We're all together here in Urbana with Doug and the boys live with me. So,
And how much of your family has overlapped with these New York City stories? That's incredible. All right, we're going to take one more break,
okay.
and we'll be right back. So, Iris, I remember when you were working on your story, and this happens a lot. Women are nervous about talking about themselves in the first person. You were not the first or the only who struggled with that. Do you remember the first draft of your story that you brought to the table?
Yes, because I was telling you about Twice as Nice, how we started it, and you said if you want to do a sales pitch for Twice as Nice, you're doing a really good job, but I want to hear about you.
Well, that was your passion project at the time, and still is. And so that's what she brought to the table. She said, "Well, I'm going to talk all about this charity and my church and the work that they do." And I'm like, "Well, that's just lovely," but I didn't get to know Iris at all. And I just want to say that you were very successful in letting that go and finding the true core of the story that we needed to tell that night. And it's clear that by the reaction that, I mean, you were a huge celebrity that night. It was beautiful. But let's go back and talk about the thing you didn't get to talk about, and that is, your church and the work that you do for the community.
Well, as I said, I've been a deacon in our church like forever. I mean, you have to take a break and go off the board for a year, and then you can go back on, but you still do deacon work. My saying is, once a deacon, always a deacon, and you get attached to people and you call on them and take muffins and candy.
Obviously.
But anyway, yes, we started this, the old house was given to our church in a will, and so we started Twice as Nice. We were open like 3 days a week then. That was before COVID.
And what is Twice as Nice?
Twice as Nice is a thrift store run by our Presbyterian Church of Urbana. And it is a win-win situation. We give everything to Champaign County Charities, and we're all volunteers, and we're really good customers too. But we really have a good store. She'd say yes.
I know we have a couple of regulars in the studio today.
And so I feel like I have to work extra hard before I leave for going to Wisconsin, and then when I come back, I have to work extra hard to make up for the time I was gone. But I love it. It's just you get to visit with all the college kids, and they come in and buy things, and then when they graduate or if they drop out or whatever, go on with their life, they bring things back and we resell them. And it's just a fun place to be. And we're only open Tuesdays and Saturdays now. And so I work as many Saturdays as I can. So I don't like to get up early in the morning anymore, but I will work afternoons. And so we need volunteers all the time too. So
if anyone's listening, if you live in Urbana,
yeah, or Champaign,
or
Mahomet, we have people from all over come in. And
so Iris, you don't like to take time off and rest. You like to keep busy. What is your secret? What is the secret to this beautiful
I read a
life
lot
that you live?
too, but when I read, I really get hooked into the book, and I have to read until it's done. And so then that's why I sleep in a lot of mornings, because I do love to read. And but I think it's just that I have a lot of energy, and I want to keep doing for others, and so I just have fun. I love people.
How grateful are we? How lucky are we to have Iris in our community?
Just to be in your orbit is pretty fantastic.
Oh, well, thank you. I love life, and I don't know, how much longer I have, but I have been so blessed because I've had cancer, a lot of cancer, and they caught it early, and My doctor just told me last week, I'm thinking you're good for another 10 years. And I said, oh my goodness. So who knows?
So see your doctor, get your regular screenings, right? Take care of yourself. Spend time reading, reflecting, volunteering, doing things you
And
love.
drink wine.
And drink. There it is, Carrie. That's the best advice yet.
That's the takeaway I'm gonna take. But it really
Iris
is
said
great
so.
because I think it's like, what would Iris do? It's easy to, you aren't saying life is always sunshine and roses. Like there are challenges, but you still choose to contribute to your community, even when things are hard. You found ways to use that to give back and to help others.
I love the fact that I did the Sunday night suppers, and the kids that were there, they're doing that in their community now.
Yes.
Several of them, and they're doing it in different forms. Like they'll have a spaghetti night, and other people bring things. Like if they choose to bring meat, they can have meat, or But they just have spaghetti supper, and they bring their kids. So it's just great.
You're paying it forward. You're passing on your legacy. You're teaching these young people how to really enjoy life. And I hope we all get to live to 90 and keep on cooking. Iris, thank you for joining us today
Well, thank
on the
you for having
podcast and saying yes and being part of the She Said family. It's an honor to have, and we're going to go drink wine because that was the advice we got tonight on how to stay young and, beautiful like you. Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. I just can't say enough good things about That's What She Said.
You heard it right here, folks, from Iris's mouth. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on the She Said Project podcast.
Thank you for listening to the She Said Project podcast. All materials contained in the podcast are the exclusive property of the She Said Project and That's What She Said LLC. For more information on our live shows, go to shesaidproject.com.